I believe now 100% that I have personally, and we as an organization, have absolutely followed every rule to the letter.
New England Patriots head coach Bill Belichick trying to turn the page on accusations his team tampered with footballs by purposely deflating them during last week's AFC Championship game. George, you have made it abundantly clear that you think that pro football is inferior to baseball. What do you make of DeflateGate or Ball-Ghazi or all the things it's being called?
Well, much though I'd like to pile on the NFL here, I must say baseball has its fair share of this. They tampered with themselves with performance-enhancing drugs. They've tampered with their equipment with cork bats. They've even tampered with the playing field in baseball, putting a watered puddle next to first base when Maury Wills was on base. So I'm going to stay out of that one.
But what about DeflateGate? You got something to say about that?
Well, yes. The idea that a quarterback as gifted as Brady would feel those balls and not see anything unusual, or that a martinet such as Belichick would say, oh, this is a detail beneath my dignity to look at, is passing believable.
Ron, you know, it now appears from comments that they made the other day that the NFL is not going to conclude its investigation until after the Super Bowl, which means no punishments, no discipline, nothing like that, and our accusations until after the big game. Smart damage control strategy? It's
damage control strategy, but it's not very smart. It's pretty consistent with the way the NFL has acted. Look, they haven't even interviewed Brady yet. You call this an investigation? I think a cynic would look at this and say, why are we worried about DeflateGate when Yemen is burning? A sports fan would look at this and say, why is the NFL focused on this? Why is the sports press focused on this when we have rampant steroid abuse in pro football? We have the severe problem with the concussions, with men dying early with brain damage, and we have domestic abuse and criminal problems that are covered up and lied about at the highest rankings of the NFL. Those, to me, are much bigger problems than the size of the footballs, actually.
But this is the problem we're dealing with, Liz. It's like you got to go to war with the army you have. So do you have a strong feeling about footballs and their inflation per square inch?
Yeah, I've been losing sleep over that, Chris, actually. No, look, I think that there is a cottage industry of hating the Patriots. I think that that's part of what you're seeing in terms of the attacks on Tom Brady and the Patriots. There's an investigation that's underway. We'll see what happens. I think Tom Brady was right. This isn't ISIS. Ron is right. The fact that we're focused on this when the Middle East is burning, tells you that we're not focused on what we should be, which is that, both teams that are going to be playing next week have had great seasons, and it's going to be a great game, and I'll go with the Patriots by 3.
Ooh, wow. Chuck, I think the thing that may surprise me the most, and Liz kind of referred to this, is that this story has gotten so big. This led the evening newscast a couple of nights last week.
I don't know why everybody's being so serious. I like DeflateGate. I'm pro-DeflateGate because I like puns. And puns have had a field day during this whole thing. So, in fact, George himself said it was all passing strange without even realizing that he was punning in the middle of this. Twitter blew up with magnificent, puerile, juvenile puns. And look, it's sports. Gaylord Perry used to throw a spitball. In college basketball, certain teams make the net tighter so the ball goes through slower so they can set up their press. They beat them 45-7, Chris. I think if the balls had been 13.5 pounds per square inch, it might have been 52-3.
George, I can't let today pass without a much more serious subject, and that is the passing of Ernie Banks, Mr. Cub. And and as a young kid growing up in Chicago, I know just how big a figure he was. He died Friday night at the age of 83. Explain to folks who Ernie Banks was and the significance of his passing.
Well, he was the first African-American player on the Cubs, like Stan Musial in St. Louis, Bob Feller in Cleveland, Tony Gwynn in San Diego, Cal Ripken in Baltimore. He was the face of the franchise. He had 512 home runs for the Cubs. There was no one fearsome batting behind him to make the pitcher throw him strikes. He still hit 512. He had this preternatural cheerfulness. But remember, he attended Booker T. Washington High School in racially segregated Dallas. He came to the Cubs in September 1953, and 3 days later they brought up Gene Baker, an African-American second baseman, because it was just assumed, they had roommates in those days, that a white man wouldn't room with Ernie Banks. He became, as I say, the toast of the town.
And also most valuable player 2 years in a row for a fifth-place team. Thank you all, panel, for covering a range of subjects.